Hey guys, welcome to episode 22 of the Abandoned Armoire Restoration Project. I'm Mark Foreman and I'm coming to you from my wood shop in my backyard in Orange, Texas. Well, as the title may have clued you in, this episode is devoted entirely to my drawers. I'm going to show you how I go from this, the way it looked when we picked it up on the side of the road, to this in one episode. So put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a fast one. Here we go. Drawers. That was good. Okay, the drawers. There's several things I want to do to make these a little bit better. First of all, the front, these are the same slats that are on the back of the armoire, but they have them reversed. In fact, if I turn it this way, you'll see there's those breaks in the slats, that gives them those grooved look, but they've got them flipped around. I'm going to turn those around. I'm also going to thin this front. If you notice, it has these four pieces that make up the trim. Well, that's about, 3/4 of an inch. Then there's those slats. And then there's another 3/4 of an inch piece. I'm going to rework this so it's not as heavy, but also give us a little bit more space. I'm going to thin the sides, partly to make it lighter, but also I'm going to put in Easy Glide rails. The way they had it, it was just wood on wood. It was a shelf of wood that the drawers slid on. A little bit fancier. The back, I don't know why, but the back piece, the sides stick out almost an inch. That's another inch of drawer space I think I can gain by doing that. And finally, I think, is the bottom. That's a very thin, less than a 1/4 inch sheet of plywood. Plywood down there. I'm going to use some of my slats that I had left over to kind of do something better for the bottom. So that's my plan. Nothing too drastic. So let me get to taking this apart and we'll get to work. Here we go in the drawers. So the next thing is nail removal. All the nails, or staples. So now I'm going to either sand or plane some wood. Here are all the pieces for one drawer. We're back to funky. Dirt and yuck that was in there. See what we can do. This is the bottom piece. Very flimsy. I'm almost certain I am not going back with this. My new drawer slides, we'll be putting those on, which means I am going to have to thin the side pieces to fit into the hole in the armoire. The front trim, it's in pretty good shape, aside from the tremendous staple holes. The front slats, they're pretty bad. I probably will just go and grab some of my leftovers from the back of the armoire and cut all new pieces for that, just so they're consistent and no tear outs and yuck on them. I think I'm going to go plain first. Okay, so the drawers are 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm going to bring them down to about 3/8, half of what they are now. I gotta figure out my vacuum system seems to be clogged up. Plus, I found a few staples. So I'll be right back. We're back. Three-eighths of an inch. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the bottom side jointed square. Let's go ahead and get the trim square as well. Okay, now that the backs of the trim are all nice and square, I'll go to the table saw and just do a very thin cut on this top effect. As I can tell, it's been worn down over the years. It's not parallel to the bottom. So, table saw. Now I'm going to glue up the drawer front. Uh, it had these slats, but they were reversed, so you were kind of seeing a flat side. Well, I want to show that beveling. I think it'll look cooler. I went ahead and made all new pieces out of scrap slats that I had from the back of the armoire because this is the best one that was there. And it's just kind of moldy and dirty. I'd have to plane it down. Since I had this already ready to go, along with that. So let's glue it up. Okay, let's let that set. While we're waiting for the glue to dry up on our slats for the front panel of the drawers, I mentioned earlier I wanted to thin that front thickness of all that wood on the drawers. So what I'm going to do is when I put these slats in, I'm going to put them into a rabbet of this frame. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the rabbets now, and then I'll know exactly how large to make the rectangle of the slats to fit in. Here we go. There you go. And I have already recut these 45-degree corners where they're going to fit a lot more snug. Okay, on to the next piece. I wanted to try to explain how I made my box joints. I'm not saying this is the right way, the best way, but it's just the way I came up with. Um, Seems to work really well. So again, a box joint is just little rectangular cutouts on each piece of wood. This is a test piece that I did. And you do them offset with each other, and they kind of just fit together. So here's what I did to make them. I cut some pieces of scrap wood. The first one is the exact width of the groove, and that width comes from the router bit, which is 3/8 of an inch in my case. So I came up with one that was one width of my router bit, one that was 2 times the width, 4 times the width, and 8 times the width. So with these 4 pieces of wood, I can come up with a number between 0 and 15. Kind of like a binary thing. So here's how it works. Like, I'll start with the number 1. Here, come a little closer. Okay, can you see a little bit better? So I put this number 1 up against my jointer fence, and then as I push the piece of wood with a big block behind it to keep it upright, I used a 4x4, and as I push it, it takes off this little notch. So then I want to skip one, make a little tooth there. So that would be position number 3. So I get my number 1 piece and my number 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Slide it, and it goes through the number 3 position. Keep repeating that. 4 plus 1 is 5. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. 8 plus 1, 9. 8 plus 1 plus 2 is 11. 8 plus 4 plus 1 is 13. Okay, so that's that piece. So now I need its mating piece. So this time, instead of number 1, I leave the 1 out. I'll go straight to 2 by itself. That's right through the second space. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Put the 4 in there. Right through there. 4 plus 2 is 6. Put the 8 by itself. There's 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. 8 plus 4 is 12. And 8 plus 4 plus 2, again, this is a sample piece, so it wouldn't have worked, but there it goes. 14. All equally spaced. And there's my box joint. That's how I did it. Well, we're making progress on the drawers. The box joints, man, they really came out nice. That was a lot of fun. Very strong too. Essentially, I tripled the glue area, and I made grain to grain glue ups versus edge to grain. Stronger connection. So here's where we are. Got the front frame all glued up. It looks good. I cut a rabbet on the inside. So I'm going to cut a new face to fit in that rabbet joint. I also went ahead and glued up what's going to become the bottom of the drawer. Slats again, glued them all up. It's way bigger than it needs to be right now, but I did that so I could cut out the best piece. And I sanded and sanded and sanded some more. Drawers have a surprisingly large amount of surface area. I had to sand with 80, 120, 150, 180 on all four, one at a time, inside sides, and then all four outside sides. I had to sand both sides of the bottom, both sides of the front face. Took a long time. Be glad I didn't video it. I couldn't speed it up fast enough. So, next step is I want to go ahead and get the bottom put in. So I'm going to I'm going to first go rabbet a very thin 1/8 inch rabbet ledge at the bottom. That is the thickness of this bottom material. And then measure the sizes with the rabbet cut so I can then cut the bottom piece. So I'm going to go do that, and then we'll come back over here. Here we go. Okay, I've got my depth set on my rabbet bit. And I've got the large bearing on so that I will only cut a 1/8 inch rabbet all the way around the bottom of the drawer. Now I just gotta chisel out the corners. The bottom glued up really nice. That's what the inside of the drawer looks like. And the front of the drawer also came out really nice. That's the back of the front. So really the only thing left to do is to attach the front to the drawer. That should be pretty straightforward. We just need to know where centers are. So my drawer is 15 7/16. So and they are 5 3/4 tall. So that's 2.5 3/8. Now we do the same thing with the door front. And we just line them up. line up. Something like that. Put a little glue on this. Alrighty. Push it in there. Another check I can do is to measure how it looks in various places. Set my triangle. Well, what did you think? I'm very pleased with how it turned out. We went from 8.5 pounds to just over 4 pounds. So, very nice. I think it looks a whole lot better. Still got to find some kind of a drawer pull or, whatever kind of hardware we're going to put onto it. Next episode, we're going to put these drawers, well, I'm going to finish this drawer off camera, but then I'm going to put both drawers into the armoire with those new easy slide tracks. We'll see you then. Talk to you later. Tighty Whiteys. Nice.